and welcome to this game review. So here you played quite well in the opening, developing the light squared bishop before playing e6. And yes, as you mentioned, black does have two plans here, either the minority attack or pushing in the center with e5 or f6, e5. Of course, before doing anything, we must develop the pieces. But these are all strategic factors, and more importantly are the tactical patterns and the tactical factors in the position. So often we will not even get to a position where the plans even matter. For example, here after bishop d6, castles knight e7, this is all fine. White plays knight g5. So this is not really a plan of any sort. White is kind of waiting for you to castle to give checkmate. So this is kind of hope chess. But on the other example here, white doesn't really do anything with knight g5, right? And here you played knight b to c6, played rook e1, and simply h6, asking the knight what's it doing. And white doesn't really have a plan. So usually what white does here is not like knight g5, right? They play like developing the bishop, put a knight on e5, then try to attack on the king side slowly, maybe rook e3, rook g3, moves like this. So the plans don't really matter here if the opponent is just giving up a piece. And of course, it's not like completely giving up a piece, right? He is getting two pawns and kind of opening up the position. But in such cases, we should stay calm and understand, try to think about not only concrete variations, but also generally, should this attack work out? And the typical answer to this is dependent on the amount of attackers and the amount of defenders. So currently white is attacking with the rook and the queen. And that's only two. The bishop can't really help at the moment. The knight and the rook are undeveloped. So this shouldn't really work, as black has many defenders around his king. He can even castle to develop the rook. If white wants to sacrifice here, we're not even forced to take, even though we could. We don't even have to. Could just develop the queen. And black is completely developed. He has more pieces. The rook is attacked, so white should just be losing here. But firstly, the attack should not really work out, right? But of course, we should check for the opponent's threats and try not to allow anything. So here, the threat is probably the move queen g6, right? Because this would fork the king and also the bishop, and black misses this. Queen d6. But actually, this doesn't really work because we can take the queen, and at the end of this, we would have a rook up. So this is okay. And next we will have to think about how should we defend. Well, firstly, we must do blunder checks, right? Before making any move, we must think about the opponent's checks, captures, and attacks, and check if they're any good. And also, more generally, the best way to repel an attack is to get rid of attacking pieces, right? Especially when we have much more defenders than the opponent has attackers. For example, if we exchange at least one of these pieces, white's attack will be over. So maybe we could just move the knight somewhere, attacking the queen. If white exchanges, we're definitely happy. So what is white supposed to do? Will he go here? Well, now we can move the king maybe, and then develop the knight. We should be more or less fine. Otherwise, if here, we can even develop the rook. And in either case, we are developing for free. But here king c7 is a natural move, but unfortunately natural moves are not what win games in chess. In games, chess is won by tactics, usually. And here, unfortunately, rook takes d6 was not looked at. This is more or less the only capture in the position. There are no checks, so we must look at captures. And before making king c7, we must look at captures. This is defended many times. But after this, if the queen takes bishop f4, we're losing the queen to a skewer. And after this, we must give up a knight and get to this position where we have an exchange up for a bishop and two pawns, but we are more or less losing because of our unsafe king. And here, white plays b4, not the most accurate, not developing pieces, not really threatening anything, so now we can still fight. And after rook f5, we attack the opponent's queen, which the opponent seems to have completely not seen, which is a big mistake on his part. And now the game is just over. So notice how there were no plans needed in this game. There were no such thing as a plan. We just had to take the opponent's pieces, not give up our own pieces. So we did get in some trouble by allowing rook takes d6, but in the end we won a queen. And from here the game is quite easy, as the opponent gave up all his pieces. So hopefully this was useful, and hopefully you try to exchange the opponent's pieces as much as possible, and maybe just get the king out of the attack in the first place. And now white doesn't really have anything here.